Today I messed up by accidentally flashing a group of strangers while hiking. I have a rather embarrassing story to share, and I hope it brings a smile to your face. Today I went hiking in the countryside with my boyfriend. It was a beautiful day, and I was really excited since I don't get to hike often. We were enjoying the scenery and each other's company, but as we climbed higher, I started to feel the urge to pee. I'm not a pro at peeing outdoors, but I've done it before, so I wasn't too worried. I just needed to find a good spot where no one would see me. As we continued our ascent, the urge became more pressing. I finally told my boyfriend it was urgent, and he suggested I just go right there. I thought that was ridiculous and refused at first, but desperation got the better of me. I asked him to walk down the path a bit so he wouldn't be nearby while I took care of business. Once he was out of sight, I took a deep breath, squatted down, and faced the path, thinking it was the best way to avoid any awkward encounters. Little did I know, that was a huge mistake. Just as I started to relieve myself, a family came down the path right in front of me. They had a front row seat to my unfortunate situation. I panicked and tried to regain some decency, but I was still mid-flow. In a frantic attempt to cover up, I ended up flashing them my backside, and well, everything else. I was mortified. I was apologizing profusely while they walked by, and I could hear one of them whispering about modesty. As they passed, I finished up, pulled my pants back up, and signaled for my boyfriend to come back. He had already guessed what happened based on the sounds, and the family passing him. He was giggling but also checking to see if I was okay, which I definitely wasn't. I was still in shock. We decided to continue our hike, partly because we were close to the top, and partly because I wanted to avoid running into that family again. When we finally reached the summit, my boyfriend had to pee too, but of course, he managed to do it without any witnesses. Only I could get caught in such an embarrassing moment. We made our way back down, and thankfully, we didn't run into that family again. I felt like disappearing the whole way down, but I was relieved to leave the situation behind. I haven't told anyone else about this yet. Only my boyfriend knows. He keeps telling me that I'll find the humor in it eventually. So here I am, sharing my anonymous confession. I think I might take a break from hiking for a while.
OOP is crazy attracted to his postpartum wife. I need to share something that's been on my mind lately, and I hope it doesn't come off as weird. I've always found her incredibly attractive, and we've made sure that our intimacy is fulfilling for both of us. I thought that with the arrival of our daughter, my testosterone levels would drop, and I wouldn't feel the same attraction. But to my surprise, it's been the opposite. Since she gave birth, I found myself completely captivated by her. Just seeing her in the mornings, when we're both getting ready, sends my heart racing. I can't help but feel a rush of attraction, and sometimes it's so intense that I have to excuse myself to the bathroom to regain my composure. I know that right now, my wife's main focus is our little one, and she's not in the mood for intimacy. I completely respect that, and I'm more than willing to wait until she feels ready again. But there are moments when the attraction is so overwhelming that I find myself retreating to our bedroom to take care of things myself, all while keeping my feelings to myself. I never want her to feel pressured or objectified, especially since she's healing and adjusting to motherhood. I felt a bit unhinged admitting all of this, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to share it. After posting my thoughts online, many people encouraged me to talk to my wife about how I felt. So I took their advice and decided to open up to her. A few days later, I sat her down in the living room and poured my heart out. As I spoke, I noticed her face start to blush, and a huge smile spread across her lips. Before I could even finish, she jumped up and wrapped me in a big hug. To my delight, she confessed that she also finds me more attractive now that I'm a dad. She even said she thinks my dad bod is cute. Ever since that conversation, things have shifted between us. She's been more affectionate, showering me with kisses when I come home from work, and it honestly brightens my day. She's hinted that she can't wait to get back into the swing of things once she's fully healed, and I'm excited for that. We're taking our time, respecting her healing process, and focusing on being a team. This phase of life has made me fall in love with her all over again. I'm grateful to everyone who encouraged me to communicate instead of keeping everything bottled up. So hug your partners, everyone. It really does make a difference.
Am I the bad guy for buying a 45-pound hoodie with my own money even though my family is tight on money? I'm a 16-year-old girl with a part-time job earning about 100 pounds a month. My family has been tight on money since I was 11 when my dad lost his job. He's currently pursuing a PhD, which costs us over 17,000 pounds a year, and my mum works as an assistant teacher, which barely covers our expenses. I've always understood our financial situation, and one of the reasons I got a job was to help ease the burden on my parents and pay for my own things. Recently, I decided to buy a hoodie for Urban Outfitters. It was a bit pricey at 45 pounds, but I thought it was worth it. I planned to pay for it in 3 monthly installments using a payment service, which meant I would only need to pay 15 pounds up front. I told my mom about my purchase, but it seems there was a misunderstanding. She thought the total cost was just £15. The next morning, as I was getting ready for school, she called me downstairs. When I arrived, she was clearly upset. "Are you out of your mind? You spent £45 on a hoodie? You know about our financial situation," she exclaimed. I tried to explain that I had mentioned the payment plan, but she insisted she thought it was just £15 total. Feeling frustrated, I offered to cancel the order, but she continued to express her disappointment about my spending choices. I didn't respond right away, and when she pressed me about why I was in a mood, I just ignored her. I'm deaf, so sometimes I pretend I didn't hear things when I'm overwhelmed. After that, we managed to have a normal conversation on the bus, but the morning's tension lingered with me throughout the day. I couldn't shake off the feeling of frustration, and I kept replaying the situation in my mind. I understand my mom's concerns, but I felt like I was being punished for wanting to spend my own money on something I liked. I turned to Reddit to see if I was in the wrong for buying the hoodie. I know my family is going through a tough time, but I also believe that I should be able to make small purchases without feeling guilty. I wanted to get an unbiased perspective on my actions and whether I was being unreasonable. After sharing my story, I received some helpful responses. Many people seemed confused about my family situation, so I clarified that my dad is pursuing his PhD to ensure my brother and I can have a better future in the UK. He's been trying to find a job, but has faced challenges due to his age and health issues. I wanted to make it clear that my parents are not irresponsible. They are doing their best under difficult circumstances. Reflecting on everything, I realized that while I understand my mom's worries, I also need to find a balance between being responsible and treating myself occasionally. It's a tough situation, but I hope to navigate it with understanding and communication moving forward.
Why BTA? For sucking up to my racist POS grandpa to get his inheritance. I found myself in a complicated situation recently, one that had me questioning my morals and family ties. My grandfather, a man whose views I vehemently opposed, had been diagnosed with cancer and was nearing the end of his life. He was not just any grandfather. He was a wealthy individual with a history of racism that made my skin crawl. He had a swastika tattoo on his shoulder, and his disdain for my father, who is black, was palpable. He had disowned my mother for marrying my dad, whom he referred to in derogatory terms. Despite his hateful views, I was the only grandchild he seemed to care for, primarily because I had lighter skin and was perceived as his legitimate heir. This twisted dynamic left me feeling conflicted. On one hand, I despised his beliefs and the way he treated my family. On the other hand, I was acutely aware of our financial struggles and the potential inheritance that could change my life. As my grandfather's health deteriorated, he announced that he would be writing his will. This revelation sparked a plan in my mind. I considered visiting him in the hospital, pretending to agree with his outdated and offensive views, all in the hopes of securing a place in his will. I envisioned using the inheritance to pay for my college education and sharing some with my parents, who had suffered due to his actions. My mother supported my plan, seeing the financial relief it could bring, but my father was against it. He didn't want me to be around someone who harbored such hatred. This left me at a crossroads, weighing the moral implications of my actions against the potential benefits for my family. After posting my dilemma online, I received a flood of responses. Most people felt I wasn't at fault for wanting to secure my future, even if it meant playing along with my grandfather's prejudices. Some commenters raised valid concerns about the ethics of exploiting someone on their deathbed. They urged me to consider my own values and the impact of my actions on my family and myself. In light of this feedback, I decided to have a heart-to-heart conversation with my dad. I expressed my love for him and my pride in my heritage. I made it clear that if I were to pursue this plan, I would share the inheritance with both him and my mom. To my relief, he eventually gave me his blessing, albeit reluctantly. With his support, I adjusted my approach. Instead of visiting my grandfather every day, I limited my visits to once or twice a week to avoid raising suspicion. I also made a conscious effort to steer our conversations away from his racist comments, focusing instead on his life experiences. This shift in perspective was enlightening. I began to see him not just as a hateful figure, but as a flawed human being shaped by his own unfortunate experiences. As I spent time with him, my feelings of hatred transformed into pity. I realized that his life had been filled with struggles that had warped his worldview. This revelation complicated my feelings further, as I grappled with the idea that perhaps he was not entirely to blame for his beliefs. Ultimately, I learned that navigating family relationships, especially with someone as complicated as my grandfather, is never straightforward. I was determined to honor my father's wishes while also considering the potential benefits of my actions. It was a delicate balance, but one that I felt was necessary for the sake of my family's future. In the end, I found a way to approach this situation that aligned with my values, while still pursuing the financial support my family desperately needed. It was a journey of self-discovery, and I emerged with a deeper understanding of my family's complexities and my own moral compass. Growing up, I always heard stories about my grandfather. He was known for his strong opinions, particularly when it came to race. Many in the family labeled him as a racist, a product of his time, and a rather unpleasant character. However, as I got older, I began to wonder if there was more to him than the reputation he had built over the years. I decided to take a different approach. Instead of avoiding him, I reached out to understand him better. I learned that he wasn't just a label. He was a person with a complex history. Yes, he held views that many would find offensive, but he also had moments of kindness and wisdom that surprised me. This journey of understanding was not easy, but it opened my eyes to the nuances of human nature. 3 weeks ago, my grandfather passed away due to complications from an illness. Initially, I had planned to skip the funeral. After all, I had spent years grappling with his controversial views, but as the day approached, I felt a pull to attend. It felt wrong to have connected with him on a deeper level, and then missed the opportunity to pay my respects. My parents thought I was making a mistake, but they didn't understand the bond we had formed. The will reading was a brief affair, filled with legal jargon that I barely grasped. To my surprise, he didn't have as much money as I had imagined. Most of his wealth was tied up in assets that couldn't be easily accessed. However, I did inherit a house, a couple of $1,000s that I can't touch until I turn 25, and some valuable stocks and bonds. While it won't change my life immediately, it does provide a significant boost for my future. Reflecting on these past few months, I realized that my journey with my grandfather has profoundly changed my perspective on life. Engaging with him, despite his flaws, allowed me to see the world through a different lens. I'm grateful for the encouragement I received from others suggesting that I talk to him and try to understand his point of view. It truly helped me grow. In the end, I learned that people are often more than the labels we assign them. My grandfather was a complex individual, and while I may not agree with all of his views, I can appreciate the lessons learned from our time together. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this journey.